Progress Report 7, March 11. The operation didn't hurt. Dr. Strauss did it while I was sleeping. I don't know how because I didn't see, but there was bandages on my eyes and my head for 3 days, so I could make no progress report till today. The skinny nurse who watched me writing says I spelled progress wrong, and she told me how to spell it, and report to, and march. I got to remember that. I have a very bad memory for spelling. Anyway, they took off the bandages from my eyes today, so I can make a progress report now. But there is still some bandages on my head. I was scared when they came in and told me it was time to go for the operation. They made me get out of bed and on another bed that has wheels on it, and they rolled me out of the room and down the hall to the door that says surgery. Boy, I was surprised that it was a big room with green walls and lots of doctors sitting around up high all around the room watching the operation. I didn't know it was going to be like a show. A man came up to the table all in white and with a white cloth on his face like in the TV shows and his rubber gloves, and he said, "Relax, Charlie, it's me, Dr. Strauss." I said, "Hi, Doc. I'm scared." He said, "There's nothing to be scared about, Charlie." And he said, "You'll just go to sleep." I said, "That's what I'm scared about." He patted my head, and then 2 other men wearing white masks too came up and strapped my arms and legs down so I couldn't move them, and that made me very scared. And my stomach felt tight, like I was going to make all over, but I didn't, only wet a little, and I was gone to cry, but they put a rubber thing on my face for me to breathe, and it smelled funny. All the time I heard Dr. Strauss talking out loud about the operation, telling everybody that what he was gonna do. But I didn't understand anything about it, and I was thinking maybe after the operation I'll be smart and I'll understand all the things he's talking about. So I breathed deep, and then I guess I was very tired because I went to sleep. When I waked up, I was back in my bed and it was very dark. I couldn't see nothing, but I heard some talking. It was the nurse and Bert, and I said, "What's the matter? Why don't you put on the lights? And when are they going to operate?" And they laughed and said, and Bert said, "Charlie, it's all over. And it's dark because you got bandages over your eyes." It's a funny thing. They did it while I was sleeping. Bert comes in to see me every day to write down all the things like my temperature and my blood pressure and the other things about me. He says it's on account of the scientific method. They got to keep records about what happens so they can do it again when they want to. Not to me, but to the other people like me who ain't smart. That's why I got to do these freaky progress reports. Bert says it's part of the experiment, and they will make photostats of the reports to study them so they will know what is going on in my mind. I don't see how they will know what is going on in my mind by looking at these reports. I read them over and over a lot of times to see what I wrote, and I don't know what's going on in my mind, so how are they going to? But anyway, that's science, and I got to try to be smart like other people. Then, when I am smart, they will talk to me, and I can sit with them and listen like Joe Carp and Frank and Gimpy do when they talk and have a discussion about important things. While they're working, they start talking about things like about God or about the trouble with all the money the president is spending or about the Republicans and Democrats. And they get all excited like they're going to have a fight. So Mr. Donner got to come in and tell them to get back to baking or they'll all get canned, union or no union. I want to talk about things like that. If you're smart, you can have lots of friends to talk to and you never get lonely by yourself all the time. Professor Niemer says it's okay to tell about all the things that happened to me in the progress reports, but he says I should write more about what I feel and what I think and remember about the past. I told him I don't know how to remember or think, and he said just try. All the time the bandages were on my eyes, I tried to think and remember, but nothing happened. I don't know what to think or remember about. Maybe if I ask him, he will tell me how I can think now and I'm supposed to get smart. What do smart people think about or remember? Fancy things, I bet. I wish I knew some fancy things already. March 12th. I don't have to write a progress report on top every day just when I start a new batch after Professor Niemer takes the old ones away. I just have to put the date on top. That saves time. It's a good idea. I can sit up in bed and look out the window at the grass and trees outside. The skinny nurse's name is Hilda, and she's very good to me. She brings me things to eat, and she fixes my bed, and she says I was a very brave man to let them do things to my head. She says she would never let them do things to her brains for all the tea in China. I told her it wasn't for tea in China. It was to make me smart. And she said maybe they got no right to make me smart because if God wanted me to be so smart, he would have made me born that way. And what about Adam and Eve and the sin with the tree of knowledge and eating the apple in the fall? And maybe Professor Niemer and Dr. Strauss was tampering with things they got no right to tamper with. She's very skinny, and when she talks, her face gets all red. She says maybe I better pray to God and ask him to forgive what they done to me. I didn't eat no apples or do nothing sinful, and now I'm scared. Maybe I shouldn't have let them operate on my brains. Like she said, if it's against God, I don't want to make God angry. March 13th. They changed my nurse today. This one is pretty. Her name is Lucille, and she showed me how to spell it for my progress report, and she got yellow hair and blue eyes. I asked her where was Hilda, and she said Hilda wasn't working in that part of the hospital no more. Only in the maternity ward by the babies where it don't matter if she talks too much. When I asked her about what was maternity, she said it's about having babies, but when I asked her how they have them, she got red in the face, just the same like Hilda, and said she got to take somebody's temperature. Nobody ever tells me about the babies. Maybe if this thing works and I get smart, I'll find out. Miss Kinnian came to see me today, and she said, Charlie, you look wonderful. I told her I feel fine, but I don't feel smart yet. I thought that when the operation was over and they took the bandages off my eyes, I'd be smart and know a lot of things so I could read and talk about important things like everybody else. She said, that's not the way it works, Charlie. It comes slowly, and you have to work very hard to get smart. I didn't know that. If I got to work hard anyway, what did I have to have the operation for? She said she wasn't sure, but the operation was to make it so that when I did work hard to get smart, it would stick with me and not be like it was before when it didn't stick so good. Well, I told her that made me kind of feel bad because I thought I was going to be smart right away and I could go back to show the guys at the bakery how smart I am and talk with them about things and maybe even get to be an assistant baker. Then I was gone to try to find my mom and dad. They would be surprised to see how smart I got because my mom always wanted me to be smart too. Maybe they wouldn't send me away no more if they see how smart I am. I told Miss Kinnian I would try hard to be smart as hard as I can. She patted my hand and said, I know you will. I have faith in you, Charlie. Progress Report 8. March 15th. I'm out of the hospital, but not back at work yet. Nothing is happening. I had lots of tests and different kinds of races with Algernon. I hate that mouse. He always beats me. Professor Niemer says I got to play those games and I got to take those tests over and over again. Those mazes are stupid, and those pictures are stupid too. I like to draw the pictures of a man and woman, but I don't make up lies about people. And I can't do the puzzles good. I get headaches from trying to think and remember so much. Dr. Strauss promised he was going to help, but he don't. He don't tell me what to think or when I'll get smart. He just makes me lay down on the couch and talk. Miss Kinnian comes to see me at the college, too. I told her nothing was happening. When am I going to get smart? She said, you got to be patient, Charlie. These things take time. It will happen so slowly, you won't know it's happening. She said Bert told her I was coming along fine. I still think those races and those tests are stupid, and I think writing these progress reports are stupid too. March 16th. I ate lunch with Bert at the college restaurant. They got all kinds of good food, and I don't have to pay for it neither. I like to sit and watch the college boys and girls. They fool around sometimes, but mostly they talk about all kinds of things, just like the bakers do at Donner's Bakery. Bert says it's about art and politics and religion. I don't know what those things are about, but I know religion is God. Mom used to tell me all about him and the things he'd done to make the world. She said I should always love God and pray to him. I don't remember how to pray to him, but I think Mom used to make me pray to him a lot when I was a kid, and that he should make me get better and not be sick. I don't remember how I was sick. I think it was about me not being smart. Anyway, Bert says if the experiment works, I'll be able to understand all those things the students are talking about. And I said, do you think I'll be smart like them? And he laughed and said, those kids aren't so smart. You'll pass them as if they're standing still. He introduced me to a lot of the students, and some of them looked at me funny like I don't belong in college. I almost forgot and started to tell them I was going to be very smart soon like them, but Bert interrupted and he told them I was cleaning the psych department lab. Later, he explained to me there mustn't be any publicity. That means it's a secret. I don't really understand why I got to keep it a secret. Bert says it's in case there's a failure. Professor Niemer don't want everybody to laugh, especially the people from the Wellberg Foundation who gave him the money for the project. I said I don't care if people laugh at me. Lots of people laugh at me, and they're my friends and we have fun. Bert put his arm around my shoulder and said it's not you Niemer's worried about. He don't want people to laugh at him. I didn't think people would laugh at Professor Niemer because he's a scientist in a college, but Bert said no scientist is a great man to his college, his colleagues, and his graduate students. Bert is a college graduate. Bert is a graduate student, and he is a major in psychology, like the name on the door to the lab. I didn't know they had majors in college. I thought it was only in the Army. Anyway, I hope I get smart soon because I want to learn everything there is in the world like college boys know, all about art and politics and God. March 17th. When I waked up this morning, right away I thought I was going to be smart, but I'm not. Every morning I think I'm going to be smart, but nothing happens. Maybe the experiment didn't work. Maybe I won't get smart and I'll have to go live at the Warren home. I hate the tests and I hate the amazed and I hate Algernon. I never knew before that I was dumber than a mouse. I don't feel like writing any more progress reports. I forget things. And even when I write them in my notebook, sometimes I can't read my own writing and it's very hard. Miss Kinnian says have patience, but I feel sick and tired. And I get headaches all the time. I want to go back to work at the bakery and not write progress reports anymore. March 20th. I'm going back to work at the bakery. Dr. Strauss told Professor Niemer it was better I should go back to work, but I still can't tell anyone what the operation was for, and I have to come back to the lab for 2 hours every night after work for my tests and keep writing these dumb reports. They are going to pay me every week, like for a part-time job, because that was part of the arrangement when they got the money from the Wellberg Foundation. I still don't know what that Wellberg thing is. Miss Kinnian explained me, but I still don't get it. So if I didn't get smart, why are they paying me to write these dumb things? If they're going to pay me, I'll do it. But it's very hard to write. I'm glad I'm going back to work because I miss my job at the bakery and all my friends and all the fun we have. Dr. Strauss says I should keep a notebook in my pocket for things I remember. And I don't have to do the progress reports every day, just when I think of something or something special happens. I told him nothing special ever happens to me, and it don't look like this special experiment is going to happen neither. He said, don't get discouraged, Charlie, because it takes a long time and it happens slow and you can't notice it right away. He explained how it took a long time with Algernon before he got 3 times smarter than he was before. That's why Algernon beats me at all the time in that amaze race, because he had that operation too. He's a special mouse, the first animal to stay smart so long after the operation. I didn't know he was a special mouse. That makes it different. I could probably do that amaze faster than a regular mouse. Maybe someday I'll beat Algernon. Boy, would that be something. Dr. Strauss says that so far Algernon looks like he might be smart permanent, and he says that's a good sign because we both had the same kind of operation. March 21st. We had a lot of fun at the bakery today. Joe Carp said, hey, look where Charlie had his operation. What did they do, Charlie? Put some brains in? I was going to tell him about me getting smart, but I remembered Professor Niemer said no. Then Frank Riley said, what did you do, Charlie? Open a door the hard way? That made me laugh. They're my friends and they really like me. There's a lot of work to catch up. They didn't have anyone to clean out the place because that was my job, but they got a new boy, Ernie, to do the deliveries that I always done. Mr. Donner said he decided not to fire him for a while to give me a chance to rest up and not work so hard. I told him I was all right and I can make my deliveries and clean up like I always done, but Mr. Donner said he will keep the boy. I said, so what am I going to do? And Mr. Donner patted me on the shoulder and says, Charlie, how old are you? I told him 32 years, going on 33 my next birthday. And how long have you been here? He asked. I told him I didn't know. He said, you came here 17 years ago. Your Uncle Herman, God rest his soul, was my best friend. He brought you in here and he asked me to let you work here and look after you as best I could. And when he died 2 years later and your mother had you committed to the Warren home, I got them to release you on the outside work placement. 17 years it's been, Charlie, and I want you to know that the bakery business is not so good, but like I always said, you got a job here for the rest of your life. So don't worry about me bringing in someone to take your place. You'll never have to go back to that Warren home. I ain't worried, only what does he need Ernie for to deliver and work around here when I was always delivering the packages good? He says the boy needs the money, Charlie, so I'm going to keep him on as an apprentice to learn him to be a baker. You can be his assistant and help him out on deliveries when he needs it. I never was an assistant before. Ernie is very smart, but the other people in the bakery don't like him so much. They're all my good friends, and we have lots of jokes and laughs here. Sometimes somebody will say, hey, look at Frank or Joe or even Gimpy. He really pulled a Charlie Gordon that time. I don't know why they say it, but they always laugh, and I laugh too. This morning, Gimpy, he's the head baker, and he has a bad foot and he limps. He used my name when he shouted at Ernie because Ernie lost a birthday cake. He said, Ernie, for God's sake, you trying to be a Charlie Gordon? I don't know why he said that. I never lost any packages. I asked Mr. Donner if I could learn to be an apprentice baker like Ernie. I told him I could learn it if he gave me a chance. Mr. Donner looked at me for a long time, funny, because I guess I don't talk so much most of the time. And Frank heard me, and he laughed and laughed until Mr. Donner told him to shut up and go tend to his oven. Then Mr. Donner said to me, "There's lots of time for that, Charlie. A baker's work is very important and very complicated, and you shouldn't worry about things like that." I wish I could tell him and all the people about my real operation. I wish it would really work already so I could get smart like everybody else. March 24th. Professor Niemer and Dr. Strauss came to my room tonight to see why I don't come to the lab like I'm supposed to. I told them I don't want to race with Algernon no more. Professor Niemer said I don't have to for a while, but I should come in anyway. He brought me a present, only it wasn't a present, but just for Lend. He said it's a teaching machine that works like TV. It talks and makes pictures, and I got to turn it on just before I go to sleep. I said, "You're kidding. Why should I turn on a TV before I go to sleep?" But Professor Niemer said, if I want to get smart, I got to do what he says. So I told him I didn't think I was going to get smart anyway. Then Dr. Strauss came over and put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Charlie, you don't know it yet, but you're getting smarter all the time. You won't notice it for a while, like you don't notice how the hour hand on the clock moves. That's the way it is with the changes in you. They are happening so slow you can't tell. But we can follow it from the tests and the way you act and talk and your progress reports." He said, "Charlie, you've got to have faith in us and in yourself. We can't be sure it will be permanent, but we are confident that soon you're going to be a very intelligent young man." I said, "Okay," and Professor Niemer showed me how to work the TV that really wasn't a TV. I asked him what did it do. First, he looked sore again because I asked him to explain me, and he said I should just do what he told me. But Dr. Strauss said he should explain it to me because I was beginning to question authority. I don't know what that means, but Professor Niemer looked like he was going to bite his lip off. Then he explained me very slow that the machine did lots of things to my mind. Some things it did just before I fall asleep, like teach me things when I'm very sleepy, and a little while after I start to fall asleep. I still hear the talk even if I don't see the pictures anymore. Other things is at night, it's supposed to make me have dreams and remember things that happened a long time ago when I was a very little kid. It's scary. Oh yes, I forgot. I asked Professor Niemer when I can go back to Miss Kinnian's class at the Adult Center, and he said soon Miss Kinnian will come to the college testing center to teach me special. I am glad about that. I didn't see her so much since the operation, but she is nice. March 25th. That crazy TV kept me up all night. How can I sleep with something yelling crazy things all night in my ears? And the nutty pictures. Wow. I don't know what it says when I'm up. So how am I going to know what when I'm sleeping? I asked Bert about it and he says it's okay. He says my brains are learning just before I got to sleep, and that will help me when Miss Kinnian starts my lessons at the testing center. The testing center isn't a hospital for animals like I thought before. It's a laboratory for science. I don't know what science is, except I'm helping it with this experiment. Anyway, I don't know about that TV. I think it's crazy. If you can get smart when you're going to sleep, why do people go to school? I don't think that thing will work. I used to watch The Late Show and The Late Show on TV all the time before I went to sleep, and it never made me smart. Maybe only certain movies make you smart. Maybe like quiz shows. March 26th. How am I going to work in the daytime if that thing keeps waking me up at night? In the middle of the night, I woke up and I couldn't go back to sleep because it kept saying, "Remember, remember, remember." So I think I remembered something. I don't remember exactly, but it was about Miss Kinnian and the school where I learned about reading and how I went there. A long time ago, A long time ago once, I asked Joe Carp how he learned to read and if I could learn to read. He laughed like he always done when I say something funny, and he says to me, Charlie, why waste your time? They can't put any brains in where there ain't none. But Fanny Burden heard me, and she asked her cousin, who is a college student at Beekman, and she told me about the Adult Center for Retarded People at the Beekman College. She wrote the name down on a paper, and Frank laughed and said, don't go getting so educated that you won't talk to your old friends. I said, don't worry, I will always keep my old friends, even if I can read and write. He was laughing, and Joe Carp was laughing, but Gimpy came in and told him to get back to making rolls. They are all good friends to me. After work, I walked over 6 blocks to the school, and I was scared. I was so happy I was going to learn to read that I brought a newspaper to take home with me and read after I learned. When I got there, it was a big, long hall with lots of people. I got scared of saying something wrong to somebody, so I started to go home. But I don't know why I turned around and went inside. I waited until almost everybody went away, except some people going over by a big time clock like the one we have at the bakery. And I asked the lady if I could learn to read and write because I wanted to read all the things in the newspaper, and I showed it to her. She was Miss Kinnian, but I didn't know it then. She said, if you come back tomorrow and register, I will start to teach you how to read. But you got to understand it will take a long time, maybe years, to learn to read. I told her I didn't know it took so long, but I wanted to learn anyway because I made believe a lot of times. I mean, I pretend to people I know how to read, but it ain't true, and I wanted to learn. She shook my hand and said, glad to meet you, Mr. Gordon. I will be your teacher. My name is Miss Kinnian. So that's where I went to learn, and that's how I met Miss Kinnian. Thinking and remembering is hard now. I don't sleep so good anymore. That TV is too loud. March 27th. Now that I'm starting to have those dreams and remembering Professor Niemer says I got to go to therapy sessions with Dr. Strauss. He says therapy sessions is like when you feel bad, you talk to make it better. I told him I don't feel bad and I do plenty of talking all day, so why do I have to go to therapy? But he got sore and says I got to go anyway. What therapy is that I got to lay down on a couch and Dr. Strauss sits in a chair near me and I talk about anything that comes into my head. For a long time, I didn't say nothing because I couldn't think of nothing to say. Then I told him about the bakery and the things they do there. But it's silly for me to go to his office and lay down on the couch to talk because I write it down in the progress reports anyway, and he could read it. So today I brought the progress report with me, and I told him maybe he could just read it, and I could take a nap on the couch. I was very tired because that TV kept me up all night, but he said, no, it don't work like that. I got to talk. So I talked, but then I fell asleep on the couch anyway, right in the middle. March 28th. I got a headache. It's not from that TV this time. Dr. Strauss showed me how to keep the TV turned low, so now I can sleep. I don't hear a thing, and I still don't understand what it says. A few times I play it over in the morning to find out what I learned before I fell asleep and while I was sleeping, and I don't even know the words. Maybe it's another language or something, but most times it sounds American, but it talks too fast. I asked Dr. Strauss what good it is to get smart in my sleep, if I want to be smart when I'm awake. He says it's the same thing and I have two minds. There's the subconscious and the conscious, that's how you spell it, and one don't tell the other what it's doing. They don't even talk to each other. That's why I dream. And boy, have I been having crazy dreams. Wow. Ever since that night TV, the late movie show. I forgot to ask Dr. Strauss if it was only me or if everybody has two minds like that. I just looked up the word in the dictionary Dr. Strauss gave me. Subconscious, adjective, of the nature of mental operations, yet not present in consciousness, as subconscious conflict of desires. There's more, but I still don't know what it means. It isn't a very good dictionary for dumb people like me. Anyway, the headache is from the party. Joe Carp and Frank Riley invited me to go with them after work to Holleran's bar for some drinks. I don't like to drink whiskey, but they said we will have lots of read error, good time. We played games with me doing a dance on the bar with a lampshade on my head and everyone laughing. Then Joe Carp said I should show the girls how I mop out the toilet in the bakery, and he got me a mop. I showed them and everybody laughed when I told them that Mr. Donner said I was the best janitor and errand boy he ever had because I like my job and I do it good and never come late or miss a day except for my operation. I said Miss Kinnian always told me, Charlie, be proud of the work you do because you do your job good. Everybody laughed, and Frank said that Miss Kinnian must be some cracked up piece if she goes for Charlie. And Joe said, Hey, Charlie, are you making out with her? I said I didn't know what that means. They gave me lots of drinks, and Joe said Charlie is a card, and he's potted. I think that means they like me. We have some really good times, but I can't wait to be smart like my best friends, Joe Carp and Frank Riley. I don't remember how the party was over, but they asked me to go around the corner to see if it was raining, and when I came back, there was no one there. Maybe they went to find me. I looked for them all over till it was late, but I got lost, and I felt bad at myself for getting lost because I bet Algernon could go up and down those streets 100 times and not get lost like I did. Then I don't remember so good, but Mrs. Flynn says a nice policeman brought me back. That same night, I dreamed about my mother and father, only I couldn't see her face, and it was all white and she was blurry. I was crying because we were in a big department store and I was lost and I couldn't find them, and I ran up and down the rows around all the big counters in the store. Then a man came and took me in a big room with benches and gave me a lollipop and told me, a big boy like me shouldn't cry because my mother and father would come to find me. Anyway, that's a dream, and I got a headache and a big lump on my head and black and blue marks all over. Joe Carp says maybe I got rolled over the cop. I got rolled, or the cop let me have it. I don't think policemen do things like that. But anyway, I don't think I'll drink whiskey anymore. March 29th. I beat Algernon. I didn't even know I beat him until Bert Selden told me. Then, the second time I lost because I got so excited. But after that, I beat him 8 more times. I must be getting smart to beat a smart mouse like Algernon, but I don't feel smarter. I wanted to race some more, but Bert said that's enough for one day. He let me hold Algernon for a minute. Algernon is a nice mouse, soft like cotton. He blinks, and when he opens his eyes, they're black and pink on the egos. I asked, can I feed him because I felt bad to beat him and I wanted to be nice and make friends. Bert said no, Algernon is a very special mouse with an operation like mine. He was the first of all the animals to stay smart so long, and he said that Algernon is so smart he has to solve a problem with a lock that changes every time he goes in to eat, so he has to learn something new to get his food. That made me sad because if he couldn't learn, he wouldn't be able to eat and he would be hungry. I don't think it's right to make you pass a test to eat. How would Bert like to have to pass a test every time he wants to eat? I think I'll be friends with Algernon. That reminds me, Dr. Strauss says I should write down all my dreams and the things I think so when I come to his office I can tell more. I told him I don't know how to think yet, but he says he means more things like what I wrote about my mom and dad and about when I started school at Miss Kinnian's or anything that happened before the operation is thinking, and I wrote them in my progress report. I didn't know I was thinking and remembering. Maybe that means something is happening to me. I don't feel different, but I'm so excited I can't sleep. Dr. Strauss gave me some pink pills to make me sleep. He says I got to get lots of sleep because that's when most of the changes happen in my brain. It must be true because Uncle Herman used to sleep in our house all the time when he was out of work on the old sofa in the parlor. He was fat, and it was hard for him to get a job because he used to paint people's houses and he got very slow going up and down the ladder. When I once told my mom I wanted to be a painter like Uncle Herman, my sister Norma said, yeah, Charlie's going to be the artist of the family. And Dad slapped her face and told her not to be so goddamn nasty to her brother. I don't know what an artist is, but if Norma got slapped for saying it, I guess it's not a nice thing. I always felt bad when Norma got slapped for being mean to me. When I get smart, I'll go visit her. March 30th. Tonight after work, Miss Kinnean came to the teaching room near the laboratory. She looked glad to see me, but nervous. She looks younger than I remembered her. I told her I was trying very hard to be smart. She said, I have confidence in you, Charlie, the way you struggled so much to read and write better than all the others. I know you can do it. At worst, you will have it all for a little while, and you're doing something for other retarded people. We started to read a very hard book. I never read such a hard book before. It's called Robinson Crusoe, about a man who gets marooned on a desert island. He's smart and figures out all kinds of things so he can have a house and food, and he's a good swimmer. Only I feel sorry for him because he's all alone and he has no friends. But I think there must be somebody else on the island because there's a picture of him with his funny umbrella looking at feet prints. I hope he gets a friend and not be so lonely. March 31st. Miss Kinnean teaches me how to spell better. She says, look at a word and close your eyes and say it over and over again until you remember. I have lots of trouble with through that you say through and enough and tough that you don't say enu and two. You got to say snuff and tough. T-bats. Oh, that's how I used to write it before I started to get smart. I'm mixed up, but Miss Kinnean says, don't worry, spelling is not supposed to make sense.